Hello, trading is closed on September 9th, 2020. Let's get some preliminaries out of the way and then we'll go over our calls. This is my plan for tomorrow, even though I won't be trading tomorrow because I have personal business. If you want to trade based on it, do so at your own risk. I finally have got my webinar organized. I'm going to go over the rules of the system, not all of them, but enough just to make certain everyone's using them correctly. I'm going to go over how I use the system. I'm going to answer questions. If there is a pattern on a particular day you want to ask me about, please tell me ahead of time so I can post a picture. It's going to be in 2 weeks, September 23rd. We'll start right after the close, and I'll start talking 5 minutes after the close. Here's the link to register. It's $57 payable to my PayPal account. See you there. We had a few requests. Somebody wanted me to ask Norm Winsky about some stuff I didn't understand. He tells me he's referring to heliocentric Saturn instead of geocentric Saturn. And if you call him at the phone number he gives at the end of each one of his talks, he says he'll be happy to discuss it with you. Someone else asked me to show where this channel is. It's not uncommon to return to the channel or sometimes the point to where the channel breaks. That means if you break it in a straight line, more often than not, you're going to return to the channel. The other comment I have is people who trade stocks should pay attention to detail. And if you ask me a question, can't even spell my name correctly, you're not paying enough attention to detail. Okay, now let's go over predictions. Look for the pattern with the early high. Tomorrow's pattern has the early low. Here's the early high. We had this target that printed. There's a new target generated from today's patterns. It doesn't have to print tomorrow. Doesn't mean it won't. But there's no time limit on ultimate targets. We had mixed signals. Commonest thing is a gap and a prompt move outside the day's range. We got that, and that killed the negative implications of yesterday's trade. And this is just a reminder of what we said. And these are the patterns for this week, and these are the patterns for next week. We got an ultimate sell signal here that hasn't been satisfied. Here's our target. Almost always we'll get more than this, even though we might not get it the first try. We had a false move here. Target was to go over this line. We did that, and that's resistance under the system. This line is a 1x1 Gann fan line from the wave 3 high. There's resistance at the line. I'm looking for additional recovery from yesterday's low. It would be ideal if we gapped over that line, which you mean gapping over today's high, because normally when you come to resistance line in a straight line move, either you gap over it or the line wins. By the line wins, I mean even if you go over it, normally you return to it usually pretty quickly. If this is the high here, I think it's impossible to count the waves with any degree of confidence at this point. But if that's A, and that's B, and that's C, then everything has a nice Fibonacci relationship, and the implication you're going to have 3 waves up, and that's probably only 1. It could be part of 2, but don't know. Doesn't mean you won't drop tomorrow, but it looks as if that isn't completed. I expect some more upside from here. But again, you can't be confident that's the right count. We do have this volume spike here. It's associated with this low, even though I don't think it's a major low. Typically it lasts for at least a few days, meaning I don't think we're ready to resume the decline yet. I look for at least a little bit higher prices, even if it doesn't happen tomorrow. personal business through the end of next week, through the beginning of next week. Still going to try to post, but I won't have much time to look at the market. Tomorrow's pattern has an early low. It doesn't mean you won't gap up. Typically, it's a rally day with a final hour high. The pattern is going to be determined by whether or not we have early weakness, because if we do, there's usually additional weakness in the days to come. If this recovery is going to get legs, you really want to gap over today's high. There's a lower MEJT ultimate target. We don't usually have to wait long, but there's no time limit and no requirement or prohibition from seeing it tomorrow. I'm assuming we made a major high, but yesterday's low, I think, is going to hold for at least a few more days. Regardless of what happens tomorrow, I think there is some more recovery coming. But rallying in the morning and then selling off near the close is a negative pattern. If today's recovery is to gather some steam, you really want today's high to be overcome soon, ideally by gapping over it. And the quicker it happens, the happier the bulls are going to be, because the main trend now, I believe, is down. Anyone who's interested in coming to my webinar on the system, this is the fee, this is the sign-in, this is the registration address, 2 weeks from today, and we'll look forward to seeing the folks there. Tomorrow has the early day. Unless you drop early, it should be a positive day. And that is today's call.